My husband knew we couldn't afford a family vacation, so he went ahead and flew out on his own. Now, I got a secret tip telling me that his tip might be in the wrong places, and he refuses to show me his phone. My husband and I have been married for 12 years, and we have 2 kids together, one of whom has special needs. We live near my hometown in Europe, while his family resides across the US. In the past, we managed to visit them once a year, but with the recent increase in living costs and the added expense of traveling with 2 kids, it's become more challenging. I wish we could afford to visit his family at least twice a year. It's tough seeing my husband miss his loved ones, especially when his depression worsens. Last year, he felt the need to go home, but we couldn't afford for all of us to travel, and I didn't have any more vacation days left. We ended up arguing about the duration of his trip. I suggested a week and a half, but he wanted longer. Eventually, he booked a trip for 2 weeks and 4 days without consulting me, which caused frustration. During his trip, I had to rearrange my work schedule, working night shifts and 12-hour shifts 7 days a week. I also took care of our kids alone after work, barely getting any sleep at night. By the time he returned, I was exhausted and still upset about how he handled the trip. It was evident that his apology was more about ending the argument than genuinely feeling remorse. The most difficult part was not being able to afford a trip for the kids or any summer activities. A few months ago, my husband mentioned wanting to visit his brother and his family in Hawaii. I told him it would be nice, but we couldn't afford the $5,000 plane tickets, and I didn't have vacation time when he wanted to go. He considered going alone, but I expressed my inability to handle more than a week without him. Although he was upset, he understood and didn't push the issue. I also emphasized the importance of saving money for the trip and not using all our vacation funds. My husband works tirelessly, often without informing me of his plans or when he'll be home, leaving me feeling like a single mom. Despite his constant work, he rarely helps around the house or with the kids. While he does earn a significant amount each month, our incomes are similar, with him occasionally earning more. Meanwhile, I have a demanding full-time job. A week ago, he asked me which 2 weeks to book tickets for a trip, but I reminded him that I had only agreed to 1 week. He became upset, arguing that 1 week isn't enough, and that the $1,300 ticket wouldn't be worth it. He's asked me multiple times since then. Tonight, he informed his entire family, including his parents who are also flying down, that he's not going. It leaves me feeling unreasonable. Am I wrong for denying him the 2 weeks in Hawaii? Should I suggest he go for 2 weeks during the summer when I'm off, or should I plan a family trip instead? Your husband is being incredibly selfish. If the roles were reversed, how would he react? You make a valid point. He fears not having enough money. He might expect me to do more around the house and with the kids, but would likely allow me to work as much as I wanted for our financial comfort. He's a generous man and would probably encourage me to go on a trip, expecting the same opportunity for himself. This is just my opinion, but if my husband did this a second time, it would be over for me. I would use that time to file for divorce, letting him know his belongings will be boxed up and put into storage. I can't imagine being married to someone like this. Update 1. A little over a week ago, I received a message on Messenger from someone I don't know. They told me that my spouse has been sending inappropriate messages to their girlfriend and suggested they might be more than just friends. Apparently, they saw my spouse calling her hello beautiful, offering to buy her flowers, and even giving her massages. This all went down the day before Valentine's Day. On that day, the kids and I were out shopping for gifts for their dad. When we got home, he asked if someone had contacted me earlier. I tried to brush off his question, trying to keep it together for the kids. Once the kids were asleep, we had a heart-to-heart. He admitted that he had joked with her after posting a photo of the flowers he got me for Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. She had commented that she never received flowers, and he said those things I was told by the stranger. I asked to see the messages, and he showed me the recent ones where she scolded him for his words. But I wanted to see more, so I scrolled up to read from the beginning. I scrolled quickly and found messages dating back to 2020. There was a photo he took of her in her underwear, which bothered me. I understand that as a professional photographer, these kinds of photo shoots are common. But I've expressed my discomfort with them before. Seeing this upset me. He grabbed the phone from my hands, saying it was from a long time ago. He refused to let me see more, comparing it to how he would never ask to see my phone. We had a lengthy conversation about our marriage. I mentioned divorce, and we talked about the changes we both felt were necessary. He was open about his desire to work through his past in therapy. He agreed to couples therapy and individual therapy to address his upbringing. I'm not sure if we'll ever return to how things were before, but we're trying. Since then, he's been making an effort to improve, but lately, it seems like he's slipping back into old patterns. He mentioned a coworker who's friends with the person who messaged me. Apparently, this coworker joked about sleeping with all his models, and my husband thinks his friend took it seriously. We haven't discussed it further, and I've chosen to trust him and move on, mostly for the kids' sake. He's never given me a reason to doubt him before this. 2 days ago, he brought up the Hawaii trip. I decided to let him extend it from 7 to 10 days. I know some people might have left or told him off, but I agreed to let him go in September. He opened up about his declining mental health, and I want the kids to have their dad around, so I saw it as the best solution. That way, it won't interfere with our family vacation like last time. He agreed and booked his ticket, but he messed up and won't get a refund for another 4 to 6 weeks. Who knows how much it will cost by then? Maybe it's karma? I feel like I'm being too trusting. I know I should probably push for more changes, but I'm hopeful that therapy will help us work through this together. My boyfriend did absolutely nothing to stand up for me when our gaming group decided I wasn't the best fit and they kicked me out. Now, I found a new group that actually cares about me, and he's on his knees begging for forgiveness. Of all the things that could possibly happen to me, I never really saw it coming. And I'm realizing now that it's happening because of one huge man baby. I, 19F, am in a gaming group that has about 10 members, including my boyfriend, 20M, and I. A month ago, I had a fallout with a member in the group, who I'll call Roger, 25M. Basically, I don't like Roger. All he ever does is degrade and talk about how women are backstabbing bitches who you can never trust and how much he loves to indulge in recreational substances. Hearing those things constantly became unpleasant, so I decided that I did not want to be around him anymore. Ever since I cut off contact, I've been left out of games whenever Roger plays because he does not want me there. Even my boyfriend advised me not to join because it'll upset Roger. Obviously, I don't want to play with Roger either, so this is fine with me. The thing is, when Roger is playing, I'm excluded from the group as I can't play with anyone else, because they're all playing with Roger. This happens 3 to 4 days every week, and they play for 5 to 6 hours a day. I'm really reserved, so I don't talk much in the group games besides making the usual call-outs. I know everyone would much rather play with Roger than me since he's more outgoing and entertaining to them, so I don't interfere. Even so, I still feel terrible for being left out constantly. My boyfriend didn't even support me the first time I was excluded. He simply told me not to join ever again and left it at that. Only one other person in the group has defended me, and that is my best friend, 19M, since middle school. When I first told him about the situation, he got really upset and asked me if I wanted him to stop playing with Roger too. I know my boyfriend and best friend enjoyed playing with Roger though, so I didn't ask them to stop. Last night, Roger and the group were all playing again. I decided to look for some other groups online to play with because being alone sucks. While on a break from his game, my boyfriend asked what I was doing. I casually mentioned that I was looking for a new gaming group to play with. His reaction was not what I was expecting. He got upset and kept questioning me why I wanted to leave our old gaming group. I explained that since I'm being excluded from our old group so often, I might as well find a new group to play with because I obviously don't fit in anymore. Even after my explanations, he continued asking me why I couldn't just stay and participate in the group more often. How am I supposed to participate in a group when I'm being excluded from it weekly? At that point, I asked my boyfriend to stop discussing the subject and to drop it. He then suggested that I was overreacting to being excluded from the group and went on to express why I couldn't simply be content for once, considering he still plays with me daily. While my boyfriend and I do play together daily, it's usually just the two of us since no one else in the group is available during those times. Being left out from playing with everyone else is what really gets to me, not being excluded from playing with my boyfriend. I assured him that if I do find a new group, I'll always prioritize playing with him first, regardless of anything else. However, I simply want to find a new group to play with when he and everyone else are playing with Roger, as I can't join in anyway, and playing alone isn't enjoyable. He reluctantly agreed, and we left it at that. We haven't discussed it since, but I can sense that he's still upset about it. Am I truly overreacting to the situation? Should I just ignore my boyfriend for now? Or should I bring it up again? This is the first time I've ever seen him so upset over something I've done, and I'm not sure what my next move should be. Update 1. For some more background info, most of us are college students aged between 18 and 20, either working part-time or staying at home with our parents. Currently, many of us are on summer break. We only have 2 older members in the group, Roger and another guy, 23M. The rest of us are either 20 or younger. Roger is actually married, and his wife has a well-paying job, so he has a lot of free time. Secondly, about my boyfriend. Surprisingly, we met through the gaming group, as he was the one who initially advertised it, which is how I found and joined the group. That was about 2 years ago, and a few months after we met, we hit it off and started dating. My boyfriend has known Roger for about 3 years, so they're close friends. However, Roger only joined the group about 6 months ago, as my boyfriend invited him because he thought it would be fun to have him there too. I didn't know much about Roger, other than that he was my boyfriend's friend, until he joined the group. So, after I posted my original post, I signed up for 2 different groups. The first one was an all-women's group aged 16 to 20. They responded to me pretty quickly. They were very nice and polite, but they explained that they only play once or twice a week, which wasn't enough for me. The second group responded to me the next day, and I found out that they were more active but also an all-men's group aged 17 to 19. However, they were open to having me join. At first, I felt a bit unsure, but the oldest and most popular guy, 19M, there took me aside and assured me that he does not tolerate any type of harassment, and that he would definitely kick out any of the other guys if they were bothering me. Hearing that made me feel more comfortable, and I played some games with them. I had a great time. All the guys were really nice and friendly. There were no inappropriate remarks or profanity against women. It was refreshing to be in a group of people who were happy to play with me. After finishing my games and leaving, my boyfriend called and asked if we could talk. When he came over, before I could even speak, he apologized profusely and admitted he messed up big time, understanding how wrong he was. He confessed he didn't want me to join a new group because he feared I might leave him for someone else. Then he acknowledged that he didn't realize how much being excluded from the group hurt me, as I never spoke up about it, which was true. I never complained about the exclusions or even Roger's behavior before because I didn't want to create more conflict. I also didn't want my boyfriend to stop playing with his friends because of me. I explained this to him, and he apologized for not defending and comforting me as he should have in the first place. To my surprise, he then showed me text messages between him and Roger from a few months ago. Apparently, long before my exclusion, Roger had complained to my boyfriend about how difficult it was to play with me there and wanted my boyfriend to kick me out. However, my boyfriend refused and told Roger that wasn't happening. Then, around the time I decided to distance myself from Roger, he sent a group text to everyone in the group explaining that he didn't want me to play with them again, and he hoped everyone understood. To my shock, even my best friend agreed with him. Only my boyfriend protested, but Roger was stubborn, and he had the whole group's support, so my boyfriend gave up. After showing me those texts, my boyfriend told me he had kicked Roger out of their group earlier that day. Roger was no longer allowed to play with them, but my boyfriend said he'd still be willing to play with Roger one-on-one, but only occasionally. Surprisingly, Roger agreed, and that was that. My boyfriend said he understood if I didn't want to be with him anymore but assured me of his love. Honestly, even after all that has happened, I'm not upset with my boyfriend. This is the first relationship for both of us, and we're still learning. He's always been kind to me, and I've never had a problem with him before this situation occurred. I'm glad he realized his mistakes and apologized without me having to ask. This is the first time he's been in a situation where he had to choose sides, so I don't blame him for trying to do anything to keep the group together. He also expressed his desire for me to come back to our old group, but he said it's completely fine if I stay with my new group. He acknowledged it was wrong of him to ask me not to join a new group. I told him I don't think I'll ever go back to the old group and that I'll stick with my new group from now on. However, I assured him I'll always make time for him and prioritize him. He accepted it without any protest, and we resumed our usual enjoyable activities. I feel guilty that my boyfriend might have lost a close friend because I never asked him to do anything like that for me. But I'm happy, and recently my boyfriend and I have been spending more time together since Roger isn't around as much. I've also been enjoying playing with my new group. I hope you're reconsidering your relationship with your best friend who had you kicked from the group. I am definitely reconsidering it. I talked to him about the group text that happened a month ago, and he admitted it was true that he agreed with Roger. He said he didn't want to tell me because he knew it would hurt my feelings. I know he offered to leave the group before, but I still feel weird about how he didn't even defend me in the first place. He was probably hoping she would leave the group and break up with her boyfriend. Then, he could swoop in with her none the wiser. He was part of the reason she got pushed out. I really hope that's not the case, but now I'm not sure. First off, my best friend is gay. Despite Roger's bad attitude, he's charming and caught my best friend's attention. At first, I thought he agreed with Roger because he had a crush on him, but a week before my original post, my best friend admitted to me that while he's attracted to guys, he finds me different from most girls and would love to have a relationship with me if I wasn't with my boyfriend. I really hope that's not the case, though. My husband of 10 years let his ego get to him and cheated on me with multiple women. Now, I'm pretending to have slept with some random guy from the gym, and his entire soul is evaporating by the second. I found out my husband, who I've been married to for 10 years, was cheating on me with many other women. He talked big about how he could get dates easily. One of those women was just 19 years old. It seemed like he was just trying to feel good about himself. I always knew he had issues feeling good about himself. He was not very confident. Whenever someone did something better than him, he would feel jealous. Looking back, I wish I hadn't chosen him. I thought he was kind, so I didn't mind that he was a bit full of himself. When I discovered he was cheating, I left him and took my kids with me. I also told everyone about what he had done. Now, he's begging me to take him back. I know for sure he's begging because his mom got mad at him. Nobody is supporting him. His last hope is for me to forgive him so people will think he's okay. I said no. He said awful things about me, about my body, and he can't take those words back. I almost died after giving birth to my son, and all he said was my body was ruined. Then, my friend suggested I get back at him by hooking up with someone else. I wasn't sure. I'm not the kind of person who does random hookups. So, I pretended. With my friend's help, I pretended to have a revenge affair. The last time he came to see me, he said he stopped talking to the other woman and started going to therapy. I wasn't happy. I wanted to hurt his feelings and his confidence. I told him I slept with someone else. At first, he didn't believe me. He said I was lying. I showed him my phone with messages between me and a made-up guy, just me and my friends joking around. We sent fake pictures and flirty messages. He started to believe me. He kept asking about this guy. I made up a story about meeting him at the gym. He got really upset. He cursed at me, asking how I could do this to him. He asked lots of questions. Did you use protection? How many times did you do it? Did he make you arrive? What really upset him was when he asked my friend about it. She's the friend I'm staying with now. She lied and said we were making noise all night. I sent my kids to my mom's for that. I saw my cheating husband having a breakdown. He really thought he was better than everyone. I might end up actually hooking up with someone else because I'm done with him and our marriage. To tell the truth, this might be better than really having a revenge affair. Honestly, I still feel loyal to my marriage. Even though I dislike him a lot, he's still technically my husband. I can't break my promises. You're still married to him? We've been apart for 6 months now. I moved out. I started the process for a divorce. Legally, we're still married, but there are some problems with custody. Update 1. Today seems like a good day to give you all an update. Nope, I'm still not divorced. We just finished discussing custody recently. There was a lot of talking back and forth. He wanted most of the custody, even though he doesn't know much about taking care of kids. Finally, we agreed that I would have most of the custody, and he would get visitation. I guess he chose this because he wanted to keep living like a bachelor without the responsibility of a family. My daughter has stopped asking questions. I think deep down, she knows her dad messed up. I've signed both my daughter and the son up for therapy. As for me, I'm not dating and I'm not interested in a one-night stand. I opened Tinder, and yeah, I got a lot of messages. It surprised me, haha. Not to brag, but it made me sad because all these men just want a quick fling. I'm a romantic person. I want someone who can spoil me, who will hold me tight and say sweet things. I want to be able to rely on someone for my emotional needs, and they'll be there for me, just like I'll be there for them. I regret wasting so many years of my life on a man who won't do that. But I guess I'm one of the unlucky first wives, haha. My ex is still trying to convince me to reconsider. He's made so many excuses that I could write a book about it and then teach a class on gaslighting 101. I did something petty again. I listed a bunch of things he could have done instead of cheating and sent it to him. He got mad at me, but it worked because he stopped making excuses. I'll be okay. Just feeling a little down. I'm trying to stay positive for my kids. Just like Gloria Gaynor's song says, I will survive. I'll update again on another good day when life gets better. I'm amazed an insecure weasel like him was able to get multiple women to sleep with him. Just like some guys, some girls have low standards or are just very insecure about themselves. Sounds like he wants no child support, rather than actually wanting the kids. Stay strong, no need to punish yourself for his mistakes. Funny thing is, child support is exactly the same amount of money he would have spent anyway if we stayed together. Kids cost money. I'll give him credit, though, he wasn't stingy when it came to paying bills for the kids. My boyfriend saw the jewelry I got recently and told me that he hates me stretching my ears. Now, he's really starting to stretch the limits of our relationship. I, 30F, have been with my boyfriend, 30M, for almost 10 years. He's very neat and professional in appearance, while I have tattoos, dyed hair, and pierced ears. He works from home as a lead programmer, and I work as a manager and pet groomer. Even though we look different and have different jobs, we share a lot of interests and opinions. If anything, our differences help balance us out. Some background that might help explain our relationship: I started getting tattoos before we met, but my biggest one was done 2 years ago. He's not a big fan of tattoos and has no plans to get any. I've never pushed, but I did ask if he'd get a tiny one with me. It's not a big deal for me, so after he said no, I dropped it. He wasn't thrilled about my big tattoo, but since I'd had ink done before, he expressed some concerns about the money I spent and left it at that. Fast forward to this past month. I've always liked the jewelry that people with stretched ears wear. Some of it looks really cool or pretty, and on a whim, I decided to stretch my piercings. With the help and advice of a friend, I got a kit and started stretching with a goal of reaching about a 2 grams/0 grams maximum. When I first told him about this, he said he really didn't like how stretched ears looked and didn't want me to stretch them to the point where you could see through my ear or fit a pencil. I reassured him and said I'd stop before reaching the generally accepted point of no return. Today, as I was moving up from a 10 grams to an 8 grams, he watched me moisturize and sanitize my jewelry in the ears. Once again, he asked how big I was going, and I showed him what a 2 grams looked like. He gave me an unpleasant look and explained that he still really disliked how gauges and stretched ears looked. He further explained that stretched ears didn't fit my style, as it was more punk while I fit more into streetwear or gal styles. He doesn't like how they look and doesn't think I'll look good with them. I felt disheartened. I took out my jewelry, packed them up, and put them away, maybe to discard them. Now I'm sitting here debating whether I should keep stretching because it's something I want for myself or if I should respect his wishes and stop. I already pushed it with how many tattoos I have and how big they are, so maybe I should give up on this one thing. I don't want him to see me as unattractive, so I don't want to change myself beyond what he's willing to accept. But I also don't want him telling me what to do with my body. Why did you ask his opinion if you weren't going to consider it? I didn't really ask for his opinion. I only brought it up to let him know that this was something I wanted to do because I was interested in it. This is strange to me because you've been with this guy for a decade. I don't really care for gauges, but if my partner of 10 years decided to get them, I wouldn't leave them. These comments are wild to me. Many people have told me to think about whether my stretched ears are more important than my long relationship. I did. I also thought about whether he would view it that way, whether my stretched ears would be worth ending a long relationship. It isn't for me, and I hope he feels the same. Update 1. I told him last night that I have decided to stop stretching. He simply gave me a hum in response while we continued to make dinner, and we haven't talked about it since. I know I'm allowed to do with my body as I see fit, and he's free to leave me if he wants. Neither him nor I look, act, or think like when we first met, some of the changes by choice and others because aging is a thing. Tastes have changed, but I have still chosen him, and I want to believe that he still continues to choose me. This choice to stop was not because he told me to, but because, as a lot of people have mentioned, relationships are a give and take. At almost a decade, what I do to my ears or not is not a hill I'm willing to die on. To those of you who have shown concern about the language I used in my post, I am grateful for your concern, and I wholeheartedly believe this is a choice I made, and not a decision based on any fear of abandonment. A few commenters asked how I'd like it if he changed himself in a way that I didn't find attractive. Short answer is I don't have an answer. I'd like to say at this point in our relationship, I'm here because of who he is on the inside. While I do believe that to be my answer, I'm a human and I am flawed. Maybe there is a thing he could do, but I can't think of anything.
I decided to secretly learn the language my girlfriend's family speaks. Now, this backfired in the worst way imaginable, and I want to secretly learn of a way out of this relationship. I, 29M, met my girlfriend, 27F, when we both moved to a new town for work about a year ago. We hit it off right away and have been together ever since. Her family is Portuguese, and from the beginning, I've made efforts to be involved and get to know them, despite the language barrier. I've met her family several times, and on the surface, they've always been nothing but welcoming and nice to me. However, they have a habit of speaking Portuguese around me, which I initially didn't mind because I understood it was their first language and it made them comfortable. Wanting to connect with them on a deeper level and surprise my girlfriend, I recently began learning Portuguese. At a recent family dinner, my new language skills unexpectedly revealed a hurtful reality. As I listened, I realized they were talking about me in extremely unkind and derogatory ways, calling my kind not smart among other insults, right in front of me, all while smiling and acting friendly. From what I've gathered, my girlfriend understands what's being said but doesn't seem to join in on the insults. However, she hasn't done anything to stop it either, occasionally trying to hide her reactions or snickers. I feel betrayed and embarrassed and am questioning the integrity of our relationship and her loyalty to me. I'm at a crossroads and unsure how to address this situation. Talking to her family directly seems scary, especially considering the language barrier and not wanting to cause problems. However, I also feel that I can't just ignore such disrespect, and I'm worried about what this means for our relationship, especially if we were to have a family of our own. Should I talk to my girlfriend about her family's behavior and tell her how much it hurts me? How can I handle this situation in a way that respects my relationship with her but also stands up for myself? If she's not sticking up for you, she's not much of a partner. It doesn't sound like she's scared of them or anything. You could calmly tell her that you didn't want to spoil it, but you've been learning the language, and you're disappointed at the way she and her family talk about you. But what could she say that would excuse it? If you want to be petty, you could wait until they insult you at the next dinner and respond in Portuguese, thanking them for the food and saying, "This dumb guy is gonna see himself out, and it was nice knowing you all. I just don't understand being this rude and frankly cruel. You sound like a nice person." Even if I tell her I know, it doesn't change how I feel about her because she still didn't stand up for me and allowed it to happen without telling me. Update 1. This past Sunday, we visited her family again, and not surprisingly, the pattern of rude comments continued. This time, they called me dumb, among other things, and everyone laughed. I laughed along with them and then asked them to pass the salad in Portuguese. I could see the awareness and embarrassment spreading across the table one by one. I guess you don't make friends with salad. The dinner that followed was inevitably awkward. No one made a scene, but the atmosphere was tense. On the way home, I told my girlfriend that I wanted to break up. To my surprise, she didn't even ask why, which only confirmed my decision was the right one. Given that we both moved to this town for work and were living in a company-supplied rental, I reached out to our HR department to explain my situation. They were understanding and agreed to arrange a separate place for me. In the meantime, I'm staying at a hotel until everything is sorted out. I honestly feel empty about it now, empty inside. It's been a roller coaster and now there's sort of nothing. Maybe I will feel better tomorrow. Update 2. I spent today packing my things, and she spent it crying. Difficult day for both of us. Thank you for all of the comments and support and messages. I will update in here tomorrow, but I need to rest right now. It has been very difficult to process. Did she explain why she didn't stand up for you? In her defense, she has a very dominating family and is not a confrontational person. I don't expect her to have stood up for me, maybe I should? But I would have expected her to tell me at least. That was a pretty baller way to call them out, bro. You don't understand how perfectly you handled this. Yeah, they suck, but that doesn't reflect on you. Their meanness was not deserved on your part. I'm glad you knew your value enough to end things with your GF. You deserve better.